we are here today. I'm Lynn Hardy, and we are talking about dream symbols and their meanings. As we look at what this symbol means, we must realize that the typical definitions only apply 50 to 75% of the time. The rest of the time, it can have a unique meaning for you and your situation. The Holy Spirit is the one who tells us what an item means in a dream. It is only with the Lord that we can understand fully what our dreams mean. This means if 75% of the time it's the typical definitions, 1 out of 4 is not typical. So if you have more than 4 items in a dream, one of them may not be the typical definition. We always need to lean and rely on the Holy Spirit. So, Holy Spirit, please be with us here today. Grant us wisdom and show us and help us learn God's ways of how He speaks to us in dreams and visions. In the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, amen. So, today we are looking at one of the most common items in our dreams, the item that will irritate us faster than anything else. What do certain people mean in your dreams? There are some common people that will appear in our dreams that have a typical definition. Now, let's start with the one closest to most of us. If you are married, your spouse can often be the Lord. I know I've heard more times from more people when they have a dream and their husband's cheating on them or doing something, with another woman. They think, "Oh my gosh, this is a horrible dream." But it's actually talking about the Lord most times. So in a dream, how we identify whether or not it's our spouse or whether or not it's the Lord is if we look at the behavior. Now, remember, we have to combine the meanings with everything else in the dream. So a bed is a place of rest and intimacy with. It's not necessarily a sexual relation. Even sex is intimacy with. So if we see our husband in bed with some inappropriate behavior that would really upset us in normal life with another woman, all it's saying is that the Lord is talking to this person. And so we have to remember that when we're looking at dreams. I used to be so angry with my husband when I would have dreams and he was doing something I didn't like. It wasn't until years later when I learned about dream meanings that I realized it was the Lord in the dream all along. If we look at the behavior of our husband in the dream, does he say a phrase that our husband normally says? That we identify with him? Does he have a characteristic, a behavior that our husband always does? That could be one clue as to who it is in our dreams, whether or not it is our spouse or the Lord. Now, if you are not married, then the Lord will be, it can be often your mother or father. Your parents can be God, the Lord, and the Lord in your life, depending on your relationship with them and their behavior towards you. Another common item in a dream that sets many people frantic when they have it is a child. Now that we have our child and we have a child. If it's our child, something we've given birth to in a dream, this means it's something we've given birth to in our life. It can be a ministry, a business. It can also be perhaps a gift of the Spirit that was brought to us, or even the Holy Spirit. Because if our spouse is the Lord, the product of having the Lord as our go-to person, as our beloved and our betrothed in heaven, the product of that is the Holy Spirit. That makes our child the Holy Spirit. One of the identifying factors of what this child who this child represents is the age of the child. If the age of the child is the same as your child, then the likelihood of it being your child, your actual child in the dream, increases. If the child is younger or older or looks different, looks dramatically different, then most likely it is not your child, but it is something else. The Holy Spirit, a business or a ministry, or even a special gift that was birthed into your life. Another common symbol in dreams is a pastor, a spiritual leader in your life. One of the key ways to know if a spiritual leader is actually themselves is whether or not they have family members present. When you have a pastor in a dream, or a prophet or an evangelist, a spiritual leader in your life who's led you spiritually, most likely it's the Lord. However, if their spouse is present, then how could it be the Lord? Because the Lord is Jesus. And so there's a problem with that. Often when you have their spouse or their children present, their family, then it is actually them. It's actually the spiritual leader. But we know that Jesus is the head, our high priest. This is why he can be represented as a pastor in our life. Another common person that we may see in a dream is a ruler who it leads our nation. Whatever nation you're in, whether it's a female or a male who is the leader of your country, you have to consider that may be the Lord. The Lord is the ruler of heaven and earth, the heavenly kingdom. Because of that, if there is a ruler of our nation, it may very well represent the Lord as well. Now, in a dream, if you are in a hospital and there's a doctor present, a doctor can represent a pastor, or a hospital can be a ministry that has a healing aspect to it. The doctor can be the leader of the ministry. The doctor can also be Jesus, our healer. The Lord appears a lot in a dream with different people because he should be the main focus of our life. Our focus should be how to receive from the Lord, how to get lined up with him, how to fulfill our destiny that he has created us for. For that reason, he can appear in many shapes and sizes, many different people in our dreams. I think that is all that I have on people in dreams today. Let's see if our team members have some good questions. The team members are gathered here with us today. They may have some good people. No, we are going to discuss any past relationships next week. So we're not going to talk about boyfriends, even parents, because that'll represent a past relationship in some way. We're going to, the parents can be your parents, as I said, mom and dad can be God and the Holy Spirit, or it can be talking about a past time in your life. And we'll cover that part in past relationships. Does anyone here have a question about who a person represents in a dream? Okay. So we have somebody asking about siblings and friends. Whenever we see siblings in a dream, they are brothers and sisters. If we are Christians, then it represents brothers and sisters in Christ, because Jesus told us, when he was talking to his disciples and those coming to see him, who are my brothers and sisters, my mother, these are my family. These are my brothers, my sisters, my mom, because his family was there trying to take him away, thinking he was doing something really crazy. Occasionally, our brothers and sisters can also be themselves. Again, we look for the identifying marks. Do they have a personality trait that our sibling is known for? Are they the same age as our sibling? These things can help us identify whether or not it's our brother, our sister, or if it's a Christian group that we're talking about. Same with our entire family. If we have our entire family somewhere with us, often that means a family of Christ, a family in God. It's our church group. It's our church family wherever we are. Our extended relatives, such as grandparents, aunts, uncles, nieces, cousins, they all have a meaning outside of, well, it depends on our relationship with them. Usually it's a meaning outside of who they are. So that would be the body of Christ extended. For instance, grandparents, aunts, and uncles are more Christians who are more mature than you are. And that's is not a physical age, it's a spiritual age. However, they're not your mother and father, so they're not the immediate Christian family. This is once removed. So if you are, say, Assembly of God, then then people who are Pentecostal would be aunts and uncles, because that is kind of related to it in some ways, but not really. Um, Same with nieces, nephews, and cousins. Those are far removed from you. They're not your brothers and sisters, the immediate church family you're with, but they're in another church family. And depending on their relevance to you, whether or not it's a cousin or a niece, would depend on how closely that other church family is related to you. Now, once again, if their characteristics are the same, if there's really things that they are doing in the dream that they always do in real life, that's a good indication that they're actually talking about them and that part of your family. So we've spoken about children. Does it make a difference if a child is a boy or a girl? Only if it is a ministry. When we talk about things that are in ministry, God is very specific. Boys sow seed, girls give birth. So if it's an evangelistic, an apostolic ministry, then it's a boy. If it's a pastor, a teacher, that's the mothering aspect, that would be a girl. However, so that would be that calling for ministry. However, in a dream, if you have Christian sisters, or if you have a sister that's older than you that's in a dream, it could be a Christian sister. And if she has a business and you're operating with her, it could be a ministry that's led by a woman. So the gender is always specific to the meaning. God will pick somebody else. He'll make them a boy or girl, even though you call them by that name, depending on what the purpose is and who he's trying to talk about in your dream. How about actors, singers, or political figures, historical people? These are perhaps the hardest things to understand because we have to know what they mean to us. Singers usually represent somebody in the worship industry. It's something about worship. Actors, um, there's two sides to actors. Actors show one face to the world and have another face underneath. That is what actor means. In Greek, they were called hypocrites. Hypocrite is somebody who has one face to the world and there's something underneath, another face underneath. So it could be somebody who's being false, has a false front, but often it's about what that actor is known for, or even what their name means. The most common one is seeing Tom Cruise in a dream, or being, and this is the same thing as being on cruise control. So if you have a car and it's got cruise control, then what happens is you are not paying attention. You're not focused on moving forward. You're just going through life on cruise control. So we have to look at the meaning of the name, look what they're known for, what types of movies they're known for, and what they mean in our life, what they mean to us. And then we apply that meaning. Historical figures are the same. What is that historical figure known for? Is it a play on that historical figure's name, or is it what they were known for? Only the Holy Spirit can tell us which ones they are. How about law enforcement or military personnel? Law enforcement are always people in authority. Now, remember, there are many people in authority on this planet. We have Satan, who does have a certain amount of authority. He can be given authority by the judge over heaven and earth to do things. He can also do things in a corrupt way. So when you see somebody in a place of authority, a police officer or whatnot, it can be the kingdom of darkness or the kingdom of heaven, but it's somebody who is in power, trying to take power, trying to rule in some way. If it's a good police officer, then it's God's angels sent to help out. So a boss, a boss is someone who is in charge of our life and in charge of our work. It depends on the actions of the boss. Remember, actions are everything. If you have a character in your dream and they look slimy, they look kind of sleazy, they look disheveled, a lot of times that's a good indication that it's the enemy, that there's an enemy influence. So and same with your boss. How does he look? It could be representing your attitude towards work. Whenever you have your boss or your colleagues in a dream, that's a good indication that it's not a spiritual dream about your spiritual life, it's about your secular life, and that the meaning is going to apply to your work. If there's colleagues you've left behind, then we're going to cover that when we talk about people from our past, which will add to a different meaning in the dream. When somebody is in charge of a vehicle where we are sitting. This is a uh, airplane pilot, a taxi cab driver, whoever is in charge, who's ever driving will either be one of probably three things. It'll either be us, that we are in charge. That means we are focused on the task at hand. If we're not consulting with the Holy Spirit, it can be an indication of there's nobody else in the car with us. We are just getting to where we want to go. But then again, it could just be about your movement towards your life. If there's no one in the driver's seat, that's often the Holy Spirit. Unless we're driving really recklessly, then it could be there's no one in charge. If it's someone else that we don't recognize, but we can't see their face, that can be an angel. Or more importantly, if it's a pilot in uniform, it could be the Lord who's in charge. So it depends on their looks. If it's somebody who looks disheveled again and kind of suspect, then that could be a heads up of you're in a car and going in a direction with somebody who is motivated by the enemy, whose life is not sorted out, and you're going to get in a bad way by allowing them to lead your life. And of course, you have to look at their clothes, their hair, whether or not they're clean shaven. All of these things, whatever stands out to you, will be important. If you don't notice it, then it's not important. There are a lot of different types of people. We have covered a doctor, but everything else, there's a million different types of jobs on the planet. We have to see what that job means. For instance, a dentist is somebody who works on teeth. Teeth represent wisdom. You see, that's going to add to it. So you have to look at their job and then look at them and see if they are reputable or disreputable, and that will apply. So somebody working on your teeth, somebody who's helping you gain wisdom. Is it an angel? Is it the Lord? All those things have to be taken into account. Is it a pastor? Is it about the church where you're at? We don't know until we see everything else in the dream. Often in our dreams, store owners can be the Lord or a ministry leader. A cashier can be an angel. People, when we cannot see their face, that is often an indication that it's an angel. I think that's about all I have here today for people. I think we've done a good job of covering it. Thank you.